Hi, welcome back to Ultimate Scale RC. I'm Matt. All right, so wrapping up the first prototyping stage of the Ultimate Scale Super Scale kit for the RC4WD drive Scottsdale, and this is basically the what you see here is basically a stage one kit, and that consists of the cab module, which adds the full floor pan, the firewall, or yes, the firewall, and a set of functioning doors. And then the front clip module, which consists of the firewall, the headlight bezels, turn signals, this top piece, and yeah, I believe that is all for that. So that is basically those two combined make up a stage one kit, and then I'm going to be offering these pre-built just as you see it here, except it won't come with a hood or the RC foil drive insert. It makes no sense for me to buy it, then mark it up and sell it to you for, more cost when you can buy it for cheaper from them. So I'm not going to offer the grill. Now I may produce my version of it, but I won't have the badge because I can't do that. And then as far as the hood goes, that's going to be a lot of work. If I'm going to be producing this, then um, I want to um, manufacture a version of this hood already preformed. So that is going to be contingent that I am successful at molding this hood that's been reworked to fit the the front clip module. Because if you notice, like on let's see here. All right, so this is the original drill frame from the RC4 drive. This part right here is just a sliver, right? And then if you look at the corrected version, it's got a thicker trim section, which is more authentic to the real thing. So that adds 100 thousandths upwards, right? So you got to trim off 100 grand, and then if you want to shape the hood so that that rollover isn't so overly exaggerated, then you can just tape that off. What I did is I glued a piece of cardboard or taped a piece of cardboard to the front of the hood, and put it flat on the table, and then bent the sides outwards so that it was shaped like a U, and then just filled that in with body filler and basically squared it off. And then once it cures, you take that off and then just shape it with sandpaper. It was actually really easy to do. And then when you scribe, what you do is you take a pair of calipers and scribe 100 thou line off that, and then you'll just use a pair of um side cutters and a pair of these flush cuts, and so side cuts worked really well. They just snipped right off. However, um, there's some gussets in here, and you're gonna want to thin this out too, because this has got a profile on it, and you're gonna want to make that thinner so that it doesn't interfere with this, because this is made like the real truck, right? So you're gonna want to shave that off, and then there's a bunch of gussets in here. You could use either or side cuts or the flush cutters to cut them out, and then just roll up some sandpaper, some 100 grit, or maybe even 60 grit, and just take that down. Don't go too far. You leave that's probably about a 80 to 100 thousandths thick right here. Take that down and then do that first, right? Then scribe your line and then trim that off. Now, the original hood, that line is actually kind of concave. So what I did is I flipped it over and took my heat gun and just heated up and then put some tape on the table, stack some tape up so that you kind of over bend it. So just take a pair of hand clamps, you know, and just kind of pull it down, heat it up, set it on there and kind of over bend it just slightly, just enough. Don't overheat it. You don't want to go more than if you can't handle it with your hands, that's too hot. 140 degrees is typical, about the typical threshold when most people think something, it's too hot. I can't hold on to it no more. So you, you pull away. So you don't want to go over 140 degrees. And if you have to do it multiple times, that's fine. That's actually a good thing. It took me about 5 tries, and I kept stacking the tape up. Heat it up, put it down, let it cool, pull it off, see where it's at, and heat it up again if it's not good enough until it's relatively flat, because the top of this is flat. So, and then as you can see, I rounded that off so it's more authentic to the real deal, right? So, and anybody can do that. So if you got a hood, don't waste it. Reshape it. It's not hard to do. It's gonna come in a light coat of primer. It's not gonna be um it'll be close. I mean, for some people, it'll probably be close enough, ready to paint. I'm not. I think body work is kind of subjective. Some people are real pros. My body work might not be up to par. Where others, it's probably plenty good enough. Where I take out like the plastic seams, from the plastic mold injection. I wipe all that out. A lot of people are fine with that. There's one up here. I take that out. I shape this, and then of course I flatten up the roof, make that right. There's quite a bit that I do, but it's not going to be exactly perfect. It's going to depend on you if it's good enough. If not, it's not hard. It's going to be mostly done. It's not going to be hard to get it to where you need it. So, and that's really the idea is to to get you the foundation with the stuff already pre-done, so you don't have to do that work. So that's the idea there. So the the cab kit's like $95. This is 45 dollars for the front clip module, and then the cab itself is 32 bucks plus shipping. So, I got 160 $180 into this already. So, and that's without my labor to build it. So it's going to take me a day or two to build it. Hey, be quiet. So I got to get my, labor for doing it, right? So these are going to start out for 250, and then they'll go up from there, because there will be the interior module, then the engine bay, and then if I paint it, if I do a two-tone, and then add the trim, the outer trim that I offer, all that stuff. There's gonna be probably 6 more modules coming. There's gonna be the interior module, the engine bay module, a powertrain module that will include my version of a Chevy 350, which I have an actual CAD model of a real block that I'm gonna scale down, and so that'll be authentic. But I'm gonna try to make that work with RC4 drive components. Um, so you'll have options there, but I'll probably offer 3D printed versions. But the metal stuff is pretty cool looking. Um, and then that'll be designed to work with the R4 transmission. And then there'll be um, a chassis module which will have all the bracketry of the fit RC4 drive frame that will mount this to that frame. Because you can see there's you got the front cab mounts here, and then the 2 holes for the rear cab mounts. So there'll be cross members with the pucks for setting this on, and then of course the one up front to do to mount the radiator support, in the exact location the real one is mounted. And then that actually is going to hide that'll have the servo mount to relocate the servo, so it's more in a stock position, and then of course the box mount. And then there'll be a module for the box, because I'm gonna do both a printed drop bed and a wood version, because I just put my CNC machine together today, so I'll be experimenting with that next week likely. So yeah, so I've concluded the prototyping of this. I had a few issues that I ran into, unforeseen issues that I ran into this week. Um, One was with these doors. Well, actually, it was all with the doors. The doors had a couple issues, more than one. Um, I print these parts in ASA, or well, not the front clip. The front clip is printed in both ASA and uh PETG, carbon fiber, and then the bezel, the silk here is PLA. But I may change that to PETG in the future. But these are really cosmetic, so they don't have any they don't need any structural integrity, so PLA is fine for those parts. But anyways, the cab module was all done in ASA, and I should have used PETG. And I'll show you what I ended up doing, because I had, as that stuff cures, I was having issues with layer adhesion. So what I did is, if you watch the videos of me prototyping this, I added strips with the layers going in a different way, so it's made like kind of like plywood, right? And first issue I had, as that cured, the this was pulling on the inside of the door, so it was causing it to look like that. So I heated it up and I pushed it back out. But as I was working with this more, I started cracking it like that. And then, so, and these are reinforced. I'm going to show you a door without that reinforcement. And this one, I don't think I broke yet. But, yes, so that's not, uh, that's not acceptable. So, here's the Pat G. So I can do that all day long. Doesn't move it. So, these are much stronger, more pliable. Um, and then yeah, I'm printing this stuff at like 270 on the nozzle top, so I'm getting plenty good layer adhesion. Just got better properties for the doors. The reason we're using ASA here is because you can fuse it to the ABS body. And that is the reason that this really needs to be made out of ASA or ABS filament. I'm using an ASA right now, because supposedly it prints cleaner. But I am gonna experiment with ABS, and if I get the same or better results with ABS, then I'll switch to ABS. But for these parts, it's plenty strong. It's not, the doors are thin. This shell is really thin. It's only 40 thousandths thick. So these parts are a lot thicker. So they're plenty strong enough for what we need. Right, and then the rest of these parts are made out of the PETG carbon fiber. All right, then another issue I had was the magnet pocket location. Somehow it changed in CAD as I was drawing this, and this is a pretty complex kit that I developed here. So um, something changed along the way, and I didn't notice it until just recently. I was actually taking pictures, and I'm like, wait a minute, the magnets aren't aligned. If you look, it's probably hard to see in there. Door isn't gonna. I don't have a flashlight. No, it's too bright. All right, so if you can see in there, there's a set of magnets on the cab side and a magnet on the opposing side in the door. That was about a quarter inch off on the original on these original doors. So you can see where that pocket is centered on the body line, and then on this door it's just the top of the magnet is just on it. So that's how far I had to move it. So doors are fixed now. So yeah, we fixed that issue. And those that ordered kits, you'll be getting a new set of doors in the mail. And then I did sell a front clip uh, module. I was supposed to ship that earlier this week, but with the snowstorm that we had here in Michigan, living in an RV, it hasn't been a good week. So and then another thing too is I had to before I shipped that, I wanted to get this developed, and this is the first prototype. So I'm actually going to be taking this out, putting the new version in. I just didn't like how this part didn't fully come over. So that was the change for that. So this is the new version, right? So, I can already see an issue. I'm gonna have to clip them off, and that's not a big deal. Pair of scissors will fix that. But yeah, I'll fix that in CAD. So not a problem. All right, so now to locate this, I wanted to show you that, and I just knocked all my shims off. All right, so what you're gonna do is put some shims in here, and then this is a 3/8 by 1/8 inch magnet. I'm just gonna put that on here like so, and then you're gonna want to shim that up. You actually might want to put another shim in here, which I don't know where that other one went, so that the magnet has a little bit of distance. Because if you paint this, you don't want that rubbing on your paint, right? And then these shims need to clear the lip of the hood. But what you're gonna do is use some epoxy, just a dab of epoxy here, and then set your hood on here, tape it down, and then let that cure. And then once that's cured, that'll stay with the hood. And then you can glue this in. Use the magnet to locate this. So it's simple as that. And then you may have to do some shaping or whatever. And then after it is glued in, you're probably gonna want to get some putty, sliding putty, and kind of um where this meets, to make it look like one. It'll look a lot better instead of having these gaps. So it doesn't look like it's a piece of plastic glued in there. But yeah, I tried to model that to just like the real one. Um, so yeah, other than that, um, yeah, we're ready for the next stages of the kit. I think I want to do the interior pretty bad, but I think my next move probably should be the chassis so that there's a mounting system in place. If you're buying this thinking that this is gonna bolt in place to your stock body, that's not happening. This has got a cab bottom. Your stock one don't. It has the holes for mounting to those. There's nothing here. You can't. It's not gonna work. So if you buy this, you're gonna have to. If you don't buy the chassis module, you're gonna have to create your own mounting system to make it work. The bumpers and all that. That's all. This is made like a real truck, not a replacement for the body. The idea is to make the RC 4-wheel drive body using that as a starting point foundation to scale it better than what they did originally, right? So I think I've achieved that. Um, opening doors are desired. The interior module will have the door cards, a bench seat, the roof liner, and A and B pillar interior A and pillars, authentic weather stripping for the door. That is a really key detail that when you add that, that really makes it look real. And then your door seal plates that go here, the kicker panels that go here, and then there'll be a dress up kit for the RC4WD dash. I kind of got a prototype here. See if I can find that real quick. Probably got it buried somewhere. Alright, so yeah, I'm not very proud of this work that I did here. It's not very good. I'm gonna, but I'm gonna uh I need to change this right here so it kind of blends in here. There's like a radius that it's missing. But other than that, I think I got that pretty good. It's just basically the glove compartment and ashtray that this dash doesn't have. And then when you add that in there, it looks it's not as good as the Traxxas, but it makes it look heck of a lot better. And then something I may attempt is doing that silk PLA, making a thin layer that'll go in place here to so you don't have to paint it. Um, like here, all this is all printed and that looks so clean, right? So that's gonna be the ideal of that. I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off though. And then maybe same thing with this piece here. We'll see what happens there. I can't think of anything else that the interior will have. Um, engine bay will, have, basically, your windshield wiper motor, the brake booster, your your plug for your wiring harness, steering wheel, the output of the steering wheel shaft, possibly the gearbox. I don't know if I'm gonna do that yet. And then of course the heater box, um, a battery, windshield wiper, washer, reservoir. So that'll be it on that. And then there'll probably be an exterior kit, which will have I'll and then attempt to make my own wipers. Again, that's gonna be a hard one. But I want to try to do better than what RC4WD did. Your door handle, possibly the mirror sets. Oh yeah, the engine bay kit will later have inner fenders, but I got to develop. That's something else I'm going to develop is a DIY vacuum forming machine that'll have a heating element and a timer and stuff. I'm trying to make that DIY. Um, I believe those on the market and they're ridiculously too expensive. I think they're way overpriced. $800 for a vacuum forming machine, that's ridiculous. Um, oh, yeah, probably do the turn signals and then the box kit will probably have the tail lights included in the box module. And then, of course, and like I said, it'll be probably two versions of the box module, one with a plastic bed, printed much like this, but dropped where it's supposed to be. And then a wooden bed version, because the earlier trucks, the 73 to, I'm not sure what year, but originally they did have an option for a wood bed. And then I may do my own short box. There is a really good print out there. I'd like to use that one, just make the bed for it. I know who's got it. I might ask him about that. Contact the creator about developing that. Um, rather than compete. But yeah, I've already done some development work with the tail lights. These actually have a revision for reverse light down here, so I'm gonna consider molding this. Like I'll print a mold and then I'll use epoxy to with red coloring, right? With the reverse light omitted, and then that'll be a second process putting that in. It's either that or making Traxxas lights work, which are actually pretty good. That's one of those things where if it's not broke, won't fix it. It's like why compete with them when they're already doing it pretty good. So I may look at doing that. I don't know, but yeah. So that's where we're at with this. So the next steps here, I got this one. This one is sold. Um, and I will have another cab available before the end of the weekend. Um, because starting tomorrow, I'll be doing a tutorial series for both the cab module and the front clip, and I'm pretty sure I can knock both of them out in one video segment now. Especially from if you ever watched the videos from before in the first version where it had all these different parts and stuff. I mean, this is really only think yeah, this is only one, two, three, yeah, four parts now. And then cutting out the doors is no big deal. You're gonna use a pair of tin snips basically, and basically cut them out, rough cut them out, throw that away, and then you're gonna resort to these guys again for cutting that border out. And anybody be able to do that, right? So I should be able to knock them out fairly quick. That'll be on this body here. Um, so yeah, I gotta take all these dots off of it. Yeah, that'll probably take more time than doing the kit. So I gotta get all those dots off, and then I'll knock the two videos out this weekend. Front clip is no big deal. That one's relatively easy, especially now that I've done it. Um, you know, I learned a lot off of this one. Basically, when you glue that piece in, you're gonna want it pretty much pre-assembled. So you're gonna want to assemble it like that and stick it in there, make sure it's aligned. That was I had to make some adjustments with this one because of that. So yeah, so the first thing that we'll do is we'll build all this stuff, and then you'll pre-assemble it, and then you'll stick it in there. You'll draw it out, and then you'll add your slurry mix to the points where the pads touch. And then you're gonna do both sides. Stick it in there, clamp it up, probably with just tape, 'cause it really doesn't need to be any more than that. And then once that slurry dries, they become one. I mean, this is not glued in there. I mean, that's the plastics are one with one another due to that slurry. So, and then later on, I may offer these parts in PETG or maybe nylon or other filaments that are probably carbon fiber based. Um, but then you're gonna have to use an epoxy because like PETG and nylon and a few of these other stronger filaments, they're not compatible with acetone, or they're chemically resistant to acetone, so that's not gonna work. So you're gonna have to rely on a good strong glue, and you'll have to work with an epoxy. But that slurry works so well, I don't know why you'd want to. And these, like I said, these parts aren't aren't weak at all. I mean, ASA is very strong stuff, but it's just on these doors, it's just too thin. So it wasn't a good solution for the doors. So yeah, you there's reasons you want to print certain things out of certain materials, you know what I mean? All right, so I'm gonna conclude that video, and then the next video. Oh wait, no wait. So yeah, like I was saying, there's more to develop here. So this is kind of like the first stage prototyping, but I will be continuing on. And since this one's sold, um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue my build because this is supposed to be my truck before I got carried away with my other business. Um, so I am going to rip all this stuff out of here, this old kit, and basically rework it. Probably gonna do the same paint scheme and everything. But yeah, I'm gonna cut this old kit out of here. See, this has got the sill plates and the kicker panels. So and then yeah, it's got the you can't really see it very good on this one, but it does have the weather stripping. It's even shine a light in there. So but yeah, this one I did fairly good on the first version, but it didn't have that slant like the real truck has, and then the doghouse is way oversized than it needed to be. And I did that on purpose originally because I wasn't sure how the motor and transmission would fit, but turns out that this is a bit too big. It was plenty big, right? So new version should work better. Plus the new version has the recess and firewall to better fit the 350 engine, where I did have the original one I had to hog out part of this, where this is going to be already done on the new kit. So so the idea there is once I get this one caught up and on par with the new kit, then I'm gonna assemble my chassis and start working on the chassis module and the box module. And then once that's done, I got all this mounted up there the way it's supposed to be. Then I'll work on doing the interior, engine bay, of course the powertrain module. Um, so there was some. Oh yeah, the fuel tanks. So if you're not familiar with this kit, originally it came with fuel tanks in Solo version 2, and it's gonna have the saddle tanks just like the real truck that fit under the cab and partially the box. So they actually stick out about yay far, and about an inch and a half maybe. So, anyways, that's where your electronics are gonna go. So you're gonna put your ESC on in one of them, if unless you're running a Fusion, and then your receiver box will go in the other fuel tank, right? And then there was just enough room behind the cab to put the stock battery. So you're gonna be limited to the stock size battery. However, the new box is gonna have the drop box, so that may limit some room there. So you may have to actually go to even a smaller battery or do like a dual setup where you have another one that's tucked up in the frame somewhere. Will hide it somehow. I don't want to do like a toolbox or anything, because then you'll always have to have the toolbox where some people aren't gonna want that. Okay, so now we're ready to conclude. So that's where I'm at. So the next build is going to be the first production version, doing the tutorials at the same time, and then after that one, I'm going to start doing this truck, and I'll probably do this one on camera as well. I'm gonna try to do as many videos as I can. It's just been too busy this week to do video. All right, guys. So we will see you in the next one.